Imagine two of the richest men on the planet clashing in a fierce courtroom battle. Elon Musk, the tech titan and world's wealthiest man, is now facing off against Bernard Arnault, Europe's richest man and head of the luxury empire LVMH. What could lead these two giants, one ruling the world of tech, the other the king of luxury, to go head-to-head? Well, Arnault is taking Musk's social media platform, X, to court. He's accusing Musk of using his newspaper's content without paying for it. And this isn't some petty squabble over a few articles. This is a clash over billions, the power of information, and the future of how digital platforms engage with news media. Let's back up for a moment. Musk and Arnault have been swapping places on the world's rich list for years, their fortunes rising and falling with the markets, product launches, and even political shifts. But today, Musk sits at the very top with a jaw-dropping $319 billion to his name. Meanwhile, Arnault, who once held the title himself, has seen his net worth slip to $164 billion. Amid falling demand for luxury goods in China. Now, Musk has been no stranger to controversy, and neither has Arnault. Musk, of course, with his high-profile acquisitions, Twitter rebranding to X, and his endorsement of politicians like Donald Trump, who's just won another term as U.S. president. And Arnault, well, he's the man behind Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior, and Givenchy, brands that represent the absolute pinnacle of luxury. But now Arnault's latest fight isn't about handbags or haute couture. It's about information and, more importantly, money. He's filing a lawsuit against X because he claims Musk's platform has been distributing content from his newspapers, like Le Parisien and Les Echos, without offering a dime in return. And Arnault isn't alone. Heavy hitters in the French media, including Le Figaro and Le Monde, are standing by his side, claiming that X hasn't even attempted to negotiate a fair deal with them. This case is set to go to trial in Paris next May, and it's not just about money. It's about setting a precedent for digital giants who rely on news content to keep users engaged. So, why is this so significant? Back in 2019, the European Union passed a directive that requires platforms like X, Google, and Meta to pay publishers when they reuse news content. Google and Meta have reached agreements with French publishers to compensate them fairly, but according to Arnault's lawsuit, X has chosen to ignore this directive altogether. In fact, the French courts have already ruled in favor of Arnault's newspapers, ordering X to share commercial data that could allow them to negotiate fair compensation. But here's the kicker. X hasn't complied. According to the publishers, X has shown what they call an invariable desire to evade its legal obligations. So here's the big question. Is Musk deliberately ignoring European regulations, or is there more going on behind the scenes? And how did we get to this point where one of the most influential platforms in the world is allegedly refusing to pay news organizations for their work? To understand this, we need to look closer at Musk's vision for X and the sweeping changes he's made since buying the platform for $44 billion back in 2022. Musk bought Twitter with a promise to turn it into a global town square. Since then, he's slashed staff, revamped its revenue model, and even rebranded it as X in an effort to redefine social media. But these radical changes haven't come without a price. Advertisers have pulled back, and his focus on loosening content restrictions has led to clashes with regulators worldwide. And now, with Arnault's lawsuit, Musk faces a new challenge: respecting European laws that are designed to support the independence of the press and ensure that journalists get paid for their work. Arnault's newspapers are making a strong case, saying that the revenue from these rights is crucial for maintaining the plurality, independence, and quality of the media, which are essential for freedom of expression and the right to information in our democratic society. They argue that Musk's refusal to negotiate with French news publishers undermines these values, and they're fighting to hold X accountable. The legal language is dense, but at its core, the case boils down to one thing. Does Musk have the right to use their content for free, or does he need to pay up? Now let's consider the stakes here. Arnault's newspapers claim X's refusal to negotiate could cripple their business. Unlike Google and Meta, which have agreed to pay publishers, X hasn't shown any willingness to come to the table. So if Arnault's lawsuit is successful, it could force X, and potentially other tech platforms that distribute news, to reevaluate how they compensate content creators and publishers. This isn't just about Arnault and his wealth. It's about creating a future where journalists and media companies are fairly compensated by the digital platforms that rely on them. It's worth noting that Arnault isn't some small-time media owner. His luxury empire, LVMH, includes more than just newspapers. It's a colossal business with brands that define wealth and status worldwide. His newspapers, like Le Parisien and Les Echos, are trusted sources in France. And Arnault's interest in media isn't purely business. It's strategic. Controlling information, especially in today's digital age, is as powerful as controlling products. But Musk, who's built his empire on disruption, may see things differently. In fact, Musk has made it clear that he believes X should operate with fewer restrictions, and he's not afraid of clashing with governments or regulators to get there. But this lawsuit could be a game changer. If Musk loses, it won't just be a financial hit. It could fundamentally reshape X's strategy, especially in Europe, where there's increasing pressure on tech companies to adhere to local laws on privacy, copyright, and compensation for content creators. So here we are, heading into uncharted territory. If Arnault and his allies win this lawsuit, it could mean that platforms like X can no longer take news content for granted. They'd have to pay for it, just like they pay for ads or data storage. And think about the ripple effect here. If Musk is forced to comply in France, it could set a precedent across Europe, maybe even beyond. Countries that have been battling big tech on issues like privacy and copyright might be inspired to follow suit, demanding that digital giants compensate news outlets fairly. Let's zoom in on why Musk might be so resistant to these negotiations. Since taking over Twitter and rebranding it as X, Musk has been on a relentless mission to cut costs and increase revenue. His idea is to turn X into a one-stop everything app, a platform where users can do it all: chat, shop, consume news, and even make payments. In his vision, X is not just a social network, it's a full-fledged marketplace for information, products, and services. But here's the twist. To turn that vision into reality, Musk needs content, and lots of it. News articles keep users engaged, spark conversations, and drive traffic, which in turn brings in ad revenue. Now, paying publishers for this content would likely add a significant cost, something Musk seems keen to avoid. After all, his purchase of Twitter was already a financial risk, and since then he's faced revenue shortfalls, staff cuts, and advertiser pullbacks. For Musk, shelling out millions, or potentially billions, on content rights could be seen as yet another obstacle to achieving his dream for X. And if there's one thing Musk has shown throughout his career, it's that he's willing to fight tooth and nail to realize his vision, no matter the resistance. But this time his opponent isn't just any business competitor. Arnault, with his vast empire and influence, has the resources to go toe-to-toe with Musk. And Arnault's motivation isn't purely financial either. It's about protecting his investments in media and, by extension, protecting the integrity of news as an institution. Arnault's media holdings aren't the largest part of his empire, but they're critical to his influence. Newspapers like Le Parisien and Les Echos reach millions, shaping opinions, guiding discussions, and setting the agenda in one of Europe's most influential countries. For Arnault, controlling the narrative and ensuring that his media outlets are sustainable isn't just a business decision. It's about power and influence in a world increasingly dominated by digital voices. This legal battle, then, is about more than money. It's a tug-of-war over control. Arnault's side argues that tech platforms have long benefited from free news content without giving back. They say it's time for platforms to pay for the journalism that feeds their algorithms, the journalism that brings people to their sites day in and day out. Musk, on the other hand, is pushing for a new model where he gets to decide the terms of engagement. He's challenging the traditional rules, suggesting that his platform should be a place where information flows freely without added fees or obligations. Here's something to ponder. Could this lawsuit spell the beginning of the end for X's unfiltered use of news content? Will Musk be forced to rethink his entire strategy? Or will he dig his heels in, fighting every step of the way to keep X as lean and cost-effective as possible? These are questions that make this showdown between Musk and Arnault all the more thrilling to watch. To make things even more complicated, this case comes at a time when both men are under significant pressure. Arnault's luxury empire has taken a hit, losing $43.4 billion in value this year alone due to weakening demand in critical markets like China. The luxury industry, while glamorous, is highly dependent on the whims of consumer demand, particularly in places where economic growth can be unpredictable. Musk, meanwhile, has seen his fortune soar, thanks largely to political shifts in the U.S., with Donald Trump winning the presidential election again. Musk was one of Trump's most prominent supporters, and his wealth has climbed by $90 billion this year, a fortune boost that certainly helps him defend against lawsuits like Arnault's. And here's a detail that adds yet another layer to this rivalry. Musk and Arnault met for lunch in Paris earlier this year. Just imagine that meeting. Two of the world's most powerful men sitting across from each other, possibly discussing the very issues that have now brought them to court. What could they have talked about? Was there an attempt at negotiation, a quiet word of warning, or maybe just a recognition that they're on a collision course? We don't know. But that meeting casts a shadow over the courtroom drama that's now unfolding. The upcoming trial in May isn't just a legal formality. It's a confrontation with far-reaching implications for media, tech, and how we consume information online. If Arnault wins, it could trigger a wave of similar lawsuits around the world, empowering other news publishers to demand payment from digital giants. And this wouldn't be the first time Europe has taken a stand against big tech. Europe has been at the forefront of setting regulations that prioritize data privacy, copyright, and user rights, often challenging Silicon Valley's dominance. In fact, the European Union's 2019 directive that sparked this lawsuit was part of a broader effort to rein in tech companies and hold them accountable for their use of local content. Arnault and his media allies argue that this directive is essential for preserving the quality and independence of journalism. They believe that tech platforms should be required to compensate news organizations, just as they would pay for any other content that drives traffic and generates ad revenue. Musk, however, might see this as a heavy-handed approach that could stifle innovation and disrupt the free flow of information. After all, his vision for X is about breaking down traditional barriers in media consumption. If he's forced to negotiate and pay news outlets for their content, it could set a precedent that makes it harder for him to operate the platform in the way he envisions. Imagine if every digital platform, whether it's a social network, news aggregator, or search engine, had to pay for every article, tweet, and post that gets shared. The costs would skyrocket, and Musk's idea of creating a seamless, low-cost user experience could be severely hampered. In many ways, this lawsuit isn't just about two billionaires duking it out. It's a reflection of the broader battle over the future of media in the digital age. If you love this video, please like and subscribe to help us grow. See you in the next video.